Hey guys, welcome back to our podcast.
Hey guys, in today's episode, we are going to be talking about the idea of analyzing everything you hear, specifically as dancers in lessons, anything like that. And Dan is going to go ahead.
Well, obviously, you can incorporate everywhere, anywhere you want, especially in this day and age with nothing on the internet. Not everything on the internet is true, but we're going to stick to dancing. And the point that we're trying to get across is when you're taking all of these different lessons with all of these different legends and just really good dancers, is that we're all different people, right? Different things work for us. We think differently, we have different mindsets, we learn differently. And sometimes what a certain person says does not work for you, right? Or a certain, and as we all know, there's different styles of the same thing. So, for example, there's different ways of doing whisk in samba, but you have to pick out a certain idea or a certain style that works for you. And let's say you have this idol, this one dancer that you always looked up to, and you finally took this lesson from them, and they're teaching you this whisk, right? That whisk, that certain idea could work for you and could not work for you. So you have to always analyze what you are learning, because different people, as I said, learn differently. We all have different body structures, different things work for us. That's going back to making your own style. You take different parts from different lessons, from different coaches, or just guest teachers and stuff like that, or people like that, and you incorporate into your own style, right? You don't have to completely copy your idol. You got to take things that you want, that you like, that work for you. I know this one dancer. She's super young. She's junior one, but she's so good at imitating certain dancers without learning. She can just look at them and just copy them like a copy machine. It's incredible. You think that she's a genius. That is one way that you can do. See, that is one way of like a person learns, just by visually looking at a certain dancer and just physically just copying what they're doing. It's amazing. I, for example, learned the best when I was growing up. I had to be terrified of my teacher. I would always need this fear of my coach, because um, messing up was such a scary thing for me to do that I forced myself always to think straight, always to remember all the lessons, everything that we went over to, so he doesn't pull out some lesson from 4 months ago on this certain date. It's like, what did we do then? And I just sit there and I'm terrified because I don't know the answer. That worked for me. Some other dancer, for example, one of my students, I will have to explain it thoroughly to them, and they work that way. Now I'm going a little off topic, but this is more of analyzing what you hear could go in hand with this one as well. Ricky, any ideas that you'd like to share as well?
I mean, definitely, I think we've all had experiences where we've had either a guest lesson or a master class, or maybe you went to a camp and then we had a lot of guest coaches there that you were fortunate enough to take lessons from. Maybe some coaches you've never worked with before, and maybe that you have had a little bit of history with, maybe a few lessons with them in the past. Always, the most important thing I think in my mind is definitely to keep an open mind, because so many teachers have so many different ideas. It can be overwhelming, especially when you're a little bit younger, to hear so many different ideas from all these different people looking at your dancing. And it's easy to get confused because for most of us, I think we're used to having like a main coach or someone who's always looking at our dancing and knows exactly what to tell us at that time to help us improve. And when we have a guest coach, they don't know what we used to look like. They don't know what we're trying to look like. They're just looking at us in that moment and telling us basically their reactions. So definitely, I've had a lot of really, really great experiences with connecting with something that coach said. that stayed with me that I really, really, really understood, and it helped me in all my dances. And then there's also been times where I paid so much money for a lesson and nothing in the lesson clicked for me at all. I just didn't get any sort of feedback that made sense in my mind. Like I remember I took a lesson from a very, very famous person, and it was the most expensive lesson I've ever taken in my life. And it was 40 minutes, not even 45 minutes. It was a 40-minute lesson. And we were doing samba and we show them. And basically, what this person told me for the entire lesson was just bend your knees more. And that would just drastically improve my samba just by bending my knees more. Now, when I'm looking in that moment, I wasn't frustrated. I was just really confused because I'm like, that's all you're going to tell me, just to bend my knees more? Like, can you elaborate? Can you please help me to understand this better so I can improve my dancing more? That's why I'm here. That's why I'm at the lesson. Um, and they definitely weren't really giving me anything to work with, but because I analyzed that, and because now when I'm looking back at it, it's a little bit easier for me to understand probably what he meant by that, even though in the moment that I didn't. So definitely another experience would be, if you're taking a lesson and you don't exactly understand, it doesn't click for you perfectly, it doesn't mean that it's never going to click for you. It could definitely affect you, and you remember that later and you're like, oh, this is what that person meant, which is why it is so important to analyze everything that you are hearing in your lesson and from people that you're basically asking them to critique you. So yeah, I would definitely say is super important, and that even if you have a good experience with that coach or that person, or maybe a not so great experience, you can always take something from it and you can always learn from it. So definitely analyzing is a very good skill to have.
Yes, and you made a good point that you were analyzing later in life. So you could think back of a lesson that was memorable for you, memorable, and just try to go through that lesson to the best of your ability, with the memories that you have of that specific lesson, and see if you understand a certain idea or a certain style differently now that you've have more experience, or you just grown up more and you've matured and you understand things differently. But yes, that's our episode for today, guys. If you're still listening, still watching, we love you. You're amazing, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.